Welcome to Aging on the Suncoast. I'm your host, Jason Martino. The National Office for Victims of Crime, housed under the Office of Justice Programs, reports that older adults 65 and older experience the same crimes as the rest of the population. However, older adults may be less likely to recover and are often sought out because of their age and decreased likelihood of reporting. This month's show is intended to explore crimes perpetrated against our elderly, including financial exploitation and scams. Unfortunately, this is a reality, and because of that, we'll inform you of where to seek help. On today's show, we've invited Sierra Pennington, a victim advocate program manager with the Area Agency on Aging covering both Pasco and Pinellas counties. We've also invited Anna Marie Millette, the investigator and outreach coordinator with Pinellas County Consumer Protection. Together, we'll discuss an ugly side of life, yet leave you with a place to turn to. So Anna Marie Millette, welcome back to Aging on the Suncoast. I know that this is not a new rodeo for you. You've been riding these bulls for a couple of years now, talking with me and shedding light on all the cool programs that you do.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and Sierra, this is your first time on the show, and we really welcome you. There's so much that you do with the Area Agency on Aging. We're excited to hear about some of the programs that you offer.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So why don't we just roll right into it? Sierra, you're the program manager for a federally funded and state-funded program, and it's called the Victim of Crime Act. What exactly is the Victim of Crime Act program?
So the Senior Victim Advocate Program here at the Area Agency on Aging is one of the direct service programs that our agency offers to the community. We're funded by the Office of Attorney General under the Victims of Crime Act grant. We also are funded through Florida Department of Elder Affairs and other additional funding sources. In order to be eligible for our program, victims have to be 60 years of age or older, and they can be the victim of any crime within Pasco or Pinellas County, ranging from the victim of a scam to the victim of a violent crime.
Oh, any crime, huh? I know
Yes.
that, yeah, because we work with legal providers to offer civil legal assistance. So it's nice to see that you're working with all the multitude of different crimes that actually occur out there rather than just civil.
Yes.
Yeah. So this program sounds pretty important because the federal government and the state government have put their backing behind it. They're funding it so I'm glad that we're able to offer it through the Area Agency on Aging. So tell me, Sierra, what exactly can you do to assist those seniors that are victims of crime?
There are many different things that our program do, and we tailor it to the individual victim and their needs. Part of that could be information and referral, giving them information about services and programs that might benefit them, also referring them to other agencies that might have services that could be beneficial to them. And it's really helpful that we're part of the Area Agency on Aging that also houses the ADRC helpline. So we kind of do the holistic approach when it comes to victims, and if we see something that maybe we can't deal with specifically within our program, we can always refer them to the ADRC helpline to get additional assistance. Another thing that we assist with is navigation of the criminal justice system. A lot of times seniors, this is their first time having any type of interaction with the criminal justice system. And so it can be confusing and overwhelming and just hard to navigate and understand what's coming next. So a lot of what we do is explaining to them what the next steps are, what they can expect, and kind of put themselves at ease as to what's going to happen. We can also accompany them to court. So there's lots of court dates that are coming up on their cases, and we can assist them by accompanying them as additional support. And if for any reason they're unable to go to court, we can also go to court on their behalf and relay that information to them afterwards. The emotional support aspect, we're always there to support them through whatever they need to get supported through this process. And we also have emergency financial assistance for them. So some victims for scams, for instance, they might have given their entire monthly paychecks to scammers, and they're therefore unable to meet their basic needs, such as maybe housing needs, food, utilities, and so we can assist them with providing emergency financial assistance to make sure that those things are taken care of. We also provide services such as safety services to guarantee their safety or assist in making sure that they're safe. This could be anywhere from referring them to a shelter to assisting them with getting the locks changed on their doors or their windows, or even having security cameras installed for their protection. Another part of that safety component is we also provide safety cell phones to seniors. So this is a 911 cell phone that they can call to call 911 for emergency services. So with some of our domestic violence victims, their phones are taken away from them by the abuser. And so having that additional phone that the abuser might not know about, and if they need to call 911, they have that available. Another part of our program is that we assist with applying for crime victim compensation through the Attorney General's office. So for victims of burglaries, we can assist with property loss. If it was a physical battery and maybe their glasses were broken, we can also assist them file for property loss for reimbursement. And then any medical expenses that are incurred due to the crime, we can also file crime victim compensation to help get reimbursement for those medical expenses. Another important aspect is for injunctions for protection. So if someone feels unsafe and they feel like they need an emergency protective order from a specific individual, our victim advocates can assist with filling out that injunction with them, going with them, explaining the process, and assisting them with filing it through the court. Another really important aspect of our program is giving victims their voice back. So helping them fill out victim impact statements and creating them so that they can let the court and the judge know how this crime has impacted them, how it's impacted their life, and allow them to let the court know the importance of what they want to happen. There are a few things I want to go over that we can't do. A lot of times people call us for. We're not a reporting entity and we're not an investigative entity. So we can assist with making reports. We can assist with getting the information together for seniors to make that report. And we can even go with them to make the report, but we're not an actual reporting entity, so they can't call us and make a report with us. The other thing that we do not provide is legal advice or representation, so we refer out to our partner agencies for that.
Wow, Sierra. I am super amazed at the breadth of services that you offer them. I've worked with the Area Agency on Aging for coming up 20 years, and I don't pretend to know everything about everything, but you've highlighted a whole bunch of things that I was not aware of, and in my time in the community to outreach, I'm going to be a better outreach person because of all the things that you explained on here. So, little role play. I am a person, maybe my home was burglarized, I'm 75 years old, or I am the neighbor of that person that recognized it and that person that was burglarized is scared. How do I get a hold of you to seek some of the services that you did a very good job explaining what you can do?
So there are many different ways to get a hold of us. Sometimes people go through law enforcement and law enforcement refers victims to us. The state attorney's office is another referral source that refers victims to us. A huge majority of our referrals come through the helpline and through our outreach activities. So we host crime prevention and elder abuse prevention presentations in the community in both Pasco and Pinellas County. And so those generate a lot of reports and get our information out, and then they come through the helpline. And so we do those presentations at different senior centers, congregate meal sites, health fairs, libraries, pretty much anywhere that we can go and speak to seniors or the community. And during COVID right now, we're actually doing outreach presentations virtually if they're requested. And then every year on June 15th, we do a World Elder Abuse Awareness event where we do a huge event, talking to seniors about elder abuse prevention, the different signs, and we invite other agencies to join in on that event with us.
You're providing a lot of services and you're providing a lot of outreach, and it really sounds like you're beefing up your resources by accumulating partners. And partners are really necessary in our world, because I think we would, all three of us would agree that we can't always serve a person just by ourselves. We need to have wraparound. You spoke to that, Sierra, with a holistic approach. So because we know this, how do you serve these people, these seniors, holistically? How do you do such?
So absolutely, we absolutely cannot do this by ourselves, and we rely on strong community relationships with different providers to kind of help us meet the needs of all victims. Victims are unique and they all have different needs. And so part of that is we partner with the Department of Children and Families to make sure that abuse reports are reported and investigated. We partner with law enforcement in both Pasco and Pinellas County, the Sheriff's Office, and other local law enforcement agencies. And we work kind of collaboratively. Sometimes they refer victims directly to us. Other times they'll work with us going out to the victim's home to make sure that all of their needs are addressed. And that law enforcement has the information that they need to go forward with the case. The state attorney's office is the same way. If they need something from us, they might call us and say that they need information on a victim, or they need more information regarding a specific incident, or they need documentation from the victims. And so we can then work with the victims to get that information to them. And then we can go with the victims to say meet with the state attorney's office and give their side of the story, and work with the state attorney's office on actually prosecuting the case. And like I said earlier, we don't do legal advice or legal representation. So we work really closely with Gulf Coast Legal and Bay Area Legal to make sure that seniors are covered in that aspect. And we also refer to local crisis centers or counseling organizations. So we're not licensed counselors. So we refer out for those services. And then we also receive funding for Better Living for Seniors to provide additional support and services to victims of crime. And then the last one that I can think of off the top of my head is consumer protection, Pinellas County Consumer Protection. So we refer a ton of people there if they have contractors or business entities that they feel like they've been scammed by, if they've entered into some kind of consumer relationship and feel like that person hasn't held up their end of the bargain. We refer them to Pinellas County Consumer Protection, and occasionally we assist them with making the report to them.
Yeah, well, that's pretty awesome, Sarah. I mean, you're doing an abundance of things and you're serving seniors. Really proud of you. Thank you for coming on Aging on the Suncoast and shedding light on all that. Please stay with us while we take a short break. As usual, don't forget to have your pen or pencil ready. During the break and at the end of our show, we'll be running contact information for the Department of Children and Families Abuse Registry, the Aging and Disability Resource Center Helpline, and Pinellas County Consumer Protection. When we come back, we'll explore how Pinellas County Consumer Protection can help senior victims of financial exploitation and scams.
Many of us don't want to believe that elder abuse, neglect, or exploitation can happen to a family member, a friend, or even ourselves. Elder abuse is a growing problem and is severely underreported. Many victims are reluctant to report due to fear, embarrassment, shame, or guilt. In order to prevent elder abuse, we must take action. Don't be afraid to talk about the issue and report it to the Florida Abuse Hotline at 1-800-962-2873. Together, we can make a difference.
Welcome back to Aging on the Suncoast. During the first half of today's show, we talked about senior victims of crime and how the VOCA program can assist those seniors. Now let's spend some time with Anna Marie Millette to learn where senior victims of financial exploitation and scams have a place that they can turn to. Sierra, welcome back to the show. You did a wonderful job talking about all your programs on the first half, and now we're going to spend some time with Anna Marie Millette, who works with Pinellas County Consumer Protection, and welcome back to the second half of our show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to open it up a little bit. Unfortunately, this show doesn't really have a happy-go-lucky theme to it. One of the things that we'll be talking about a little bit lightly, and then we're going to roll into all the cool things that you do, Anna Marie, is abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Unfortunately, this is a fact of life, not just for seniors, but for everybody, but in particular for seniors. It occurs at a rate that's 1 out of every 10 seniors, if I remember my statistic correctly. There are ways that people can report. That is through the Department of Children and Families, and we're going to run some graphics a little bit later at the middle of the show and at the end of the show, and that'll highlight how you can either report by phone call and or by website. And but we're going to concentrate a little bit on financial exploitation. Exploitation is a little bit broader, but for Anna Marie Millette's purpose, we're going to concentrate on financial exploitation. So, Anna Marie, what is financial exploitation?
Well, financial exploitation occurs when a person misuses or takes the assets of a vulnerable or disabled adult for his or her own personal benefit. Typically, this is going to occur without the explicit knowledge or consent of that vulnerable adult, and therefore depriving them of vital financial resources that they need for their personal needs.
Yeah, and thank you. So are there warning signs for this? Are there red flags out there that that people could be aware of?
Definitely. So usually exploitation is going to occur through some kind of deception or false pretense, maybe harassment or even threats. People, family, close friends of that vulnerable adult needs to be aware of anything out of the norm. So if they were meeting their bills every month and now all of a sudden there's a chronic failure to pay bills, if they don't normally make large withdrawals and now they're seeing cash withdrawals or even bank accounts depleted, if new accounts are being opened jointly with someone who may be fairly new to this person or the family's not aware of or didn't know prior, and then also any extravagant purchases. If now they're purchasing cars and boats and things they normally wouldn't for themselves or for someone else, those could all be red flags that there's some kind of financial exploitation going on.
Yeah, and those are great examples. It was just recently that I'm pretty type A when it comes to reconciling my checkbook, and I noticed there was a charge from my debit card when I was down in South Florida that wasn't a normal purchase at all. So that was a red flag to me because it's out of the norm of the things that I would purchase. And so if I were a person that suspected that there was some funny business going on, and or I was a concerned neighbor or I was a family member, who do I report this to?
So you're going to definitely, first thing you can do is reach out to law enforcement. They can do a welfare check for that individual. You can also report it to 1-800-96-ABUSE, the abuse hotline. And then depending on what the situation is, you can always file a complaint with Pinellas County Consumer Protection. We can look into situations that would involve like a contractor or service provider, because there are going to be different parties that would perpetrate the exploitation to the victim. And there's 3 main areas that these individuals would fall into. One being a trusted party, a family member, a friend, maybe a neighbor. The other would be some kind of business, as I mentioned, a service provider. So it could be somebody providing home repairs or maybe lawn service, or even someone who manages their finances or property. And then an unknown party, which would be typically scammers, someone they've never really met, but spoken to maybe through phone or internet.
Yeah, thank you. Earlier in the show, Sierra was speaking to the her victim advocate program and talking about all the things, all the partners they have, and all the different outreach events that they do to get the word out on there. And that includes her services in Pinellas, but also Pasco County too. Do you have a Pasco resource that people could also talk to in addition to Pinellas County Consumer Protection or commensurate to Pinellas County Consumer Protection?
Sure. Well, unfortunately, there's no Pasco County Consumer Protection Agency. So it's advised that if there is some concern or signs of exploitation, that they definitely contact Pasco Sheriff's Office and they can investigate the cases.
Yeah, well, thanks for saying that plug for the Sheriff's Office. They do a pretty good job up there and put a good foot forward. So Anna Marie, I've known you for a number of years, and one of the things, the reasons why I'm so fond of you is that you are so busy keeping up on the current trends of scams that are out there that perpetrate our elderly. Let's take a couple of minutes and go through some of the things that your office is seeing and your approaches to that.
Sure. So scams have been going on for years. Now with technology, they're easier to execute and victimize more people. So the common ones that we're seeing are computer scams where somebody may call you. And again, with any scam, it's typically unsolicited. You just get a call out of the blue or an email, something you weren't expecting. But with the computer scam, they claim to be some computer company, Microsoft, Hewlett Packard, whoever they want to be, and there's something wrong with your computer. They ask for remote access into your computer, which is very dangerous because now they can obtain any information you have on your device. And then they may offer to fix or repair the issue for some type of fee. And again, a lot of our victims say they don't have computers, and these scammers are very aggressive about, perpetrating the crime. The other is a utility scam. They call to claim to be your local utility company. They threaten that you haven't paid your bill and you're up for disconnection if you don't make payment immediately. So they play on that fear of the individual to gain money or maybe even personal information. Another is a grandparent scam. They claim to be a grandchild. They've been in some type of accident or they've been arrested. Again, they're requesting payment immediately. They ask you not to tell anyone, especially their parents, and that when they get to safety that they'll pay back the grandparent. But again, it's all a ruse, and they play on that fear or want to have the grandparent help that child. So they make it very believable. There's all different types of scams. We're seeing majority of them are perpetrated through telephone, but they could also be through internet. That's another common way. And then through door-to-door or in-person scams. So again, if someone is just showing up unannounced at your home and claiming to be anyone, whether it's a utility company or service provider, it's best not to answer the door if you're not expecting anyone or don't know who's there.
The litany of scams that you presented, it disgusts me. Very similar to hearing about all of the types of crimes that are perpetrated towards our elderly. My dad was a person, he's pretty savvy, and it was just last year that he was potentially the victim of a computer scam. He received those calls. They were very aggressive, but fortunately and unfortunately, my dad's pretty aggressive as well. They stopped calling him after a while. So, and he wouldn't know where to turn. So this is why we do this show, to try to figure it out. So on that note, people are going to turn to your agency for help. What exactly can you help them with?
Well, I always advise people, oftentimes seniors are intimidated or embarrassed that they have fallen for a potential scam. They're not comfortable speaking to friends or family. So I always advise them, call us. I'll be happy to speak with you. There's no judgment, and we can assess what the situation is, how much information has been compromised, and what we need to do, what steps are necessary to hopefully reduce the impact or, rectify the situation. So if they do file a complaint with us, we do require it to be in writing. It cannot be anonymous. And then we will make contact with both parties. For instance, if it's a service provider, say a contractor, we will make contact with that individual as well as the victim to try to work through the complaint. If it turns out it's a civil matter, we have certified mediators through our department that work with the parties through mediation as an alternative to going to court. If it turns out it's a violation of a consumer protection law, meaning the situation is criminal, then we have our criminal investigators that work with the state attorney's office for prosecution of those cases.
Yeah, that's good stuff. You and Sierra just have a multitude of different things that you can do. Now, if I was a victim of what I assume was financial exploitation, how could I prepare myself for the help that you're going to offer?
Once you're aware of the situation or you suspect there is an issue, document it as much as you can. So contracts, receipts, anything they've provided in writing, whether it be a business card. I always tell people photograph things, videotape. Now with smartphones, you can capture images. So as much information or documentation is going to be helpful in figuring out what happened and tracing the steps along the way.
Thank you. And what can I expect during the process of this case? I have a heightened attention to it. It's a crisis for me. What are some expectations that we could cast some light on today?
Well, like I said, once you file a complaint, it does go through our review process and it will be assigned to an investigator. That person will be in touch with you and that's your contact person. You'll have their direct information, whether it be phone number or email. If it's a criminal matter, then like I said, the assistant state attorneys will work with our investigators to handle the case. But we also work with Area Agency on Aging, and they help with a lot of our criminal victims or victims of crimes to assist them through the court process and the whole situation. So there's a lot of resources that are available. It is scary, it's frightening, but like I said, the first step, just reach out, and then we can see what the situation is and what the best steps are available.
You know, Anna Marie, you're serving these seniors very much like Sierra with wraparound holistic. This is a testament to the partnership we have with the county and other agencies throughout Pasco and Pinellas County, and it's always enjoyable talking to you. Thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah. We hope you learned a great deal from this month's broadcast. We also hope this episode helped you understand that the issues we spoke to today are very real. There are resources available if you are a victim or know someone who is. At the end of the show, we'll highlight those resources again. So get your pencil ready. We'll see you next month. And until then, please take advantage of the great resources we spoke to today.
Many of us don't want to believe that elder abuse, neglect, or exploitation can happen to a family member, a friend, or even ourselves. Elder abuse is a growing problem and is severely underreported. Many victims are reluctant to report due to fear, embarrassment, shame, or guilt. In order to prevent elder abuse, we must take action. Don't be afraid to talk about the issue and report it to the Florida Abuse Hotline at 1-800-962-2873. Together, we can make a difference.